Alright, so a couple days ago I did a Ball Python egg cutting where right before the eggs hatched, we actually cut them open, took a quick peek inside the eggs, and we saw the results of the pairing. And today those Ball Python hatchlings should be completely out of the eggs. So what I want to do today is I want to pull those hatchlings out of the incubator. I want to give them names, take a closer look at each one, and then put them up in the hatchling rack. And this is a pretty exciting cross. As a matter of fact, I've been working on this project for about 5 years now, and this is the first time I actually got eggs and actually produced results. I actually bred my lesser scaleless head male to my pastel pinstripe scaleless head female. So we had two scaleless heads that we bred together, and out of all the eggs from 2 clutches, I actually had 2 females that were exactly the same, the lemon blast scaleless heads, and they both laid eggs, which is pretty amazing. And I actually ended up with 3 completely scaleless ball pythons, which was pretty much the highlight of my breeding season. I've been trying to make those for a really long time. And let me tell you, the scaleless are completely different than a regular ball python. So I found out really quick that that first batch where I hatched out that first completely scaleless ball python, all its siblings had actually completely shed, and it was like a whole week after even the last one shed, and that scaleless ball python still didn't shed. And after about 2 weeks after that, it just the shed just kind of came apart, and it was like the shed stuck to the whole snake from head to toe. It was completely awful. And I was like trying to soak that snake and everything. I could not get that shed off. And finally, I actually used some bag balm. Take a look at this. This is what you need for a completely scaleless ball python, the bag balm. Someone actually recommended this. They said they put this on their scaleless weekly to, for the sheds so they don't get stuck in the shed. And sure enough, I put this stuff on, and then the next day the shed came off. So it looks like if you have a completely scaleless ball python, you need to get some bag balm to keep the shed from sticking to these crazy snakes. So I think what I'm going to do today on those 2 scaleless, when we pull them out, I think I'm going to put a little bit of bag balm on them before I put them up in the hatchling rack, because they will shed here probably within days after I put them up in the rack. So, all right, I don't know what Bobby is doing here up on my head here, but I want to pull that box of hatchlings out of the incubator, and we'll check them out. All right, so here it is, fresh out of the incubator. This is actually my Lemon Blast Scaleless Head number 2 crossed with my lesser Scaleless Head male. Let's take a look at this. This should be exciting. All right. Wow, take a look at that. Pretty crazy looking clutch right there. Take a look at that. Got quite the variety in there. Not too bad. That's one of the craziest clutches I think I've ever produced. So in this one I actually produced queen pins, which I've never produced before. Queen pins. Not to be confused with queen spins. So the queen pin is actually a lesser lemon blast. I got 2 of them here, which is pretty awesome. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at these scaleless, completely scaleless. And when it comes to scaleless, they are completely different than any other scaled snake. So a lot of times it's kind of a challenge to actually identify the genes in the completely scaleless. Like for example on this one, I'm not sure exactly what's the genes are in this one. So this could be a pastel pinstripe lesser scaleless, just because the patterns just kind of completely exploded. And if you actually compare like the scaleless genes, the ball pythons with the same gene as a scaled ball python, it looks completely different. You almost have to like completely relearn all your genes, because it looks completely different when you strip away all the scales with the super scaleless head combination here. Alright, so I want to see if this guy's kinked. I had one in my last clutch. I had a blue-eyed leucistic with a bad kink. Oh, it broke my heart. And then after that I was thinking, oh, in the back of my mind I'm thinking, oh, I hope my completely scaleless aren't kinked. This guy's like a little wild worm, huh? He's like freaking out. All right, so this guy looks good. No kinks. Looks good. Let's see. His navel looks good. All right, so what I'm going to do in this guy, well, let's pull a name first. We'll pull a name, and then I'm going to wipe him down with some bag balm. And I'm going to hold back all my completely scaleless. The problem is, this name, I already have a snake with that name. And since I'm keeping this, we need a different name. I can't have the same different snakes with the same name. I think I have that name too. Let's see. Oh, here's a name I haven't used. Actually, I'm gonna put that back in the jar because I can give someone else that name. That's a pretty cool name. All right, so this is an interesting name. This one is Astrid. Interesting name. I actually got these they were viewer suggested names. All right, so if you ever seen bag balm, it smells like like medicated petroleum jelly. It does not smell very good. Kind of has a chemical plastic smell to it. You actually notice this is a little bit dirty. We actually use this on the shell of our tortoise. So I actually bought another thing of it. So it's kind of like almost like Vaseline with some other stuff in it. So I'm just gonna kind of lather them up in some bag balm. Apparently it doesn't hurt the snake. You definitely want to get it all over the snake too, because man, that was a bad shed. That was like the worst shed ever on that snake. These scaleless are crazy looking snakes, and they feel really weird. I feel like it seems like when they're smaller like this, they feel more like kind of like a blob of jello. But that last one, after a couple weeks in the hatchling rack, it really firmed up. And it wasn't so mushy like this one. This one seems really mushy out of the egg, which is really weird. Doesn't even, it feels almost like a night crawler, like a big night crawler is what it feels like, which is kind of wild. You want to make sure you get this on the nose. That's where I had the last one. Really stuck bad on the nose. So let's see if I can get him on the nose a little bit without him biting me. Alright, so he is lathered up. There we go. Alright, so I brought out a normal ball python just for reference, so you can see the difference between a normal and a scaleless normal, just like the base scaleless normal. And I'm pretty much 100% sure that this is just a normal scaleless. So take a look at this. This is scaleless with no other genes, and this is a normal. So this is this is what happens when you completely strip away all the scales with the super scaleless head. It acts, the funny thing is one copy of just the scaleless head with one copy of the gene almost acts like Enchi, and then when you have two of them to strip away all the scales, it almost acts like a super Enchi, where it really reduces the pattern. Completely eliminates all the alien heads, completely changed. And then when you start adding genes on top of it, it gets really confusing. You almost have to go over to like Morph Market and see if anyone's made it before to figure out what you actually got in some of your combinations with the scaleless. And there's not a lot of people that have actually produced a lot of the, I'll put that guy away, a lot of the completely scaleless combinations. So there's not a whole, as far as I've seen, no one's has really produced the like a pastel pinstripe lesser completely scaleless ball python. So this guy is full of a little bit of vermiculite or perlite I'm using here. Always check for kinks. Gotta hold my breath when I check for kinks. Hopefully there's no kinks. Looks good. No problem at all. Alright, the weird thing is on these scaleless ball pythons, even the belly is completely scaleless. Look at how crazy that belly is. That is just the craziest snake ever. Alright, so I want to pull a name first. I am keeping this one. I don't think I have a pepper. This guy's name is Pepper. And let's see, I'm going to add a little bit of this bag balm to this guy. Kind of lather him up a little bit here. It's so weird. I've seen these at shows, but no one would ever let me actually hold one. I think everyone's afraid that, you know, if you have the wrong kind of a lotion or something on your hand, that it'll kind of go through the skin and poison your precious snake. So no one's ever actually let me hold one at the shows, which is interesting. I actually had to produce my own to hold one. And now I have 3 of them. And a whole bucket of bag balm for these guys. I would think, usually I don't track sheds on my ball pythons, but I'm thinking maybe with the Scaleless, you could track the sheds and then just, you know, kind of lather them up when you think they're going into shed, or right before their scheduled shed. And a lot of times it depends on how much you feed them too. So if you feed them, usually the more you feed them, the faster they'll go through the shed cycles. So, alright, so the weirdest thing is kind of putting it on their head. I know that shed really gets stuck. The last one I had to like peel it down and it got stuck on the eyes. Ooh, he's going to the bathroom. Alright, guy. Alright, so he's pretty well lathered up, I think, with the bag balm. Not too bad. Got his head pretty good. Want to make sure you get that nose, that's for sure. Alright, so there you have it. That's pretty awesome. I'm going to put him up in the hatchling rack. Alright, let's see what else we got in here. So remember, with the Scaleless, you'll also get the Scaleless heads. So some of these will and some of these won't be Scaleless heads. So let's take a look at what we have here. So these, take a look at these guys. These are really interesting. These are queen pins, pastel pinstripe lessers. And if you have spider in there, you'll actually get a queen spin. And they kind of threw me off because of how light they were, and I had to actually go over to Morph Market and look. Sure enough, all the queen pins are really super light. It's interesting how the lesser really lightens the lemon blast. So it's a lemon blast with the lesser in it, which is pretty interesting. And as far as the scale set, sometimes it's hard to tell on a light snake, but you can actually see the last scale right before the vent. If it's split in two, it'll actually be a scaleless head. And this one is, I don't know if you can see it, it's it's so tiny there. It's the last scale right before the vent. It has like a little split going right along the belly and splits the scale into two. This is a queen pin scaleless head. That's pretty cool. Alright, so look for kinks. Hold your breath, look for kinks. Look at the navel here. This guy is squirrely. Alright, buddy. Alright, looks good. No problems at all with that guy. And I'm going to give him a name. This guy's name is Raven. Alright, so I want to take a look at this other queen pin. Let's see if this one's actually a scaleless head. So pretty much the same exact thing with the pastel pinstripe and the lesser. And this one, just looking at the head, I would guess it is not a scaleless head. But the head can kind of trick you. I always pretty much confirm with the vent scale here. Let's see, the vent scale says, oh, if I can see it, it's so small. Not a scaleless head on this one. Alright, so those are significantly different. Let's see, we got to stretch them out to look for kinks. let's see. Make sure he's okay, nice and straight, no problems. Gotta look at the belly button. Looks good right there. Alright, that's a good looking snake. Depends if you want to get in the Scaleless head project or not. I'll definitely probably sell both of those. I won't hold those back. Alright, let's see. Here's a good name. Wakanda. That's an interesting name. Wakanda, huh? Alright. Alright, let's see what else we have in here. Pretty good combination of a whole bunch of different crazy stuff. Pretty wild. Alright, so take a look at this. This is really crazy. So this is so we had a Lemon Blast Scaleless head crossed with a lesser. So it's lesser, pastel, or pinstripe. It's interesting with this one. It almost looks like it has calico in it, which is weird. I was kind of mentioning that when I was kind of peeking in the egg too, but sometimes the calico can kind of wipe out the sides, but that is just a straight lesser. And if you look at the head here, these guys are so dry. So dry. It looks like, oh, they definitely need to be hydrated. They need to shed here pretty soon. So I want to take a look at the vent scale here. See if it's a scaleless head. I don't think it's going to be split. I don't think it's a scaleless head on this one. Nope, it's a solid scale. You can definitely tell by the head. Sometimes the head can kind of trick you. I've actually had them with just one tiny little scale. You look at the vent scale and you're like, oh yeah, that's a scaleless head. Then you look at the head and there's like one tiny little spot that you probably wouldn't have even noticed unless you checked the vent scale and confirmed. Alright, so let's check, make sure this guy's doing alright here. Stretch him out. Looking good, looking good. No problems there. Alright, look at the umbilical cord vent. Yeah, looks good, looks good. This guy is pretty skinny. Guy's pretty skinny. They're so small when they hatch. Alright, so we'll pull a name for this guy. Alright, here's a good name. This guy's name is Slinky. Alright, so last snake of the box here. This one's kind of an interesting one. So take a look at that. This is the first time I've ever produced this. This one right here. Take a look at this guy. You can obviously tell by the head. Take a look at the head on this one. I'll zoom in a little bit for you. Obviously, high expression scaleless head on that one. High expression. This is just a pinstripe. One of my favorite genes. Just one of my favorite standalones. Because they can be super gold. Pretty much the goldest gene you can get just as a standalone. That makes some really good combos too. And the kind of the interesting thing with one copy of the scaleless head is a lot of times it'll actually brighten your combinations. So I'd imagine that this would probably be the brightest gold pinstripe that I've ever produced, with the addition of the scaleless head to make it even brighter. And a lot of times it kind of gives a weird texture, almost like little micro bumps or something on here. It's like a different kind of a feeling as far as the scales on these scaleless heads. So hopefully he's okay. Let's see if we can stretch him out. Looking good. No problems there. Belly looks good. Looks really good. Really spry. That's a good looking snake right there. So I'm kind of running at maximum this year as far as my hatchling rack. So this will be, I actually counted all my tubs that are open after I put this guy in the racks. I actually have 2 racks. I have a maximum of 105 hatchlings that I can put in these racks. And after I put this guy up in the rack, I'll have 41 empty tubs. And I looked at my incubator, I have at least 42 eggs in my incubator. So I'm definitely gonna have to sell some here. It's like I'm rotating. This guy's name is Monty. All right. And I think I have 3 more ball pythons that are gonna lay eggs. So I'm definitely gonna have to start posting some stuff over on Morph Market. A lot of my retics are actually ready to go. I just need to probe them and figure out the males and the females. I'm definitely gonna hold back 2 retics, a male and a female, and breed them together. And if you actually breed 2 of the retics, you'll actually get white albinos, lavender albinos, and purple albino super dwarfs from pairing 2 of them together. So, of course, it takes quite a few years before you actually can produce some from those guys. Alright, so there you have it. That was a pretty awesome clutch right there. Didn't hit some really interesting combinations in this one. Alright, so that's pretty much it. I have, as far as upcoming videos, I have 2 more boxes of eggs that are going to hatch here probably in the next week. So we'll have to do some more egg cuttings on those. It'll be pretty awesome. Possible bamboos on one of those boxes of eggs too. So that's pretty exciting. Alright, so that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.